and welcome back to another episode of The Jake Williams Show. I, of course, am your host, Jake Williams, episode 48. And I have a very surprising story to talk about today. This kind of just fell into my lap. I really wasn't anticipating any of it. But before I get to that, I want to talk about the success of the other shows on the Loud and Opinionated Network. And I'm very happy with that people are really latching on to these other shows, whether it be Loud Sports, Batcast, Super Cynical Cinema. I'm just happy that people are really getting behind these shows, and all of us have been putting so much work into this to get eyeballs on this product and really getting people interested and excited in these other shows. And who knows what will happen for the future of Loud and Opinionated. Maybe some more shows. I'm working on trying to do more for the YouTube channel, which, based on the news today, I don't know if that's the case. So I'm going to be looking into that some more. I'm actually doing that right now. But thank you so much for listening to all of those shows. That's really all I can say. And subscribe, like them, rate them on any platform you listen to them. Please do that. That will do wonders for us. You can follow all the shows, not all of them, I guess, but yeah, follow us on Twitter at Loud Opinionated, Loud and Opinionated on Facebook. We're all over the social medias, so you can look us up there. So today's big news that I was alluding to, Twitter is going crazy, which I know that in of itself is not news, because as you know, Twitter likes to get outraged. Sometimes on things they shouldn't be outraged by. As many of you know, there can be some situations that don't really make sense to why people freak out about this. I'm going to not only just be talking about YouTube, I'm going to try and do more of what I've always wanted to do with this show, and I'm going to talk about multiple topics. So there's going to be a YouTube section, there's going to be some other stories, and I don't want to spoil them. I want you to stay here and listen to all of it. But I'm going to kind of split it up into more topic-oriented clips of the show, because as much as I like to rant and rave about something for 20 to 30 minutes, there's something I probably missed that I really wanted to talk about. So without further ado, let's talk about the changes coming to everyone's favorite video hosting site, YouTube. Today they announced, as I'm recording this, September 19th, 2019, they announced that they're making changes to their verified systems. Now, if you're not familiar with this, if you get to a certain amount of subscribers, their current system is if you reach 100,000 subscribers or more, you become verified. So you get the little check mark like you would on, say, Twitter or Instagram. It's just another form saying, hey, this is really the person or the channel that you're looking for, not some copycat, what have you, fake account, which makes sense. It's pretty basic. You're seeing it in a lot of platforms. So today they've decided they're going to change that. For some reason, they're making a change to the little check mark you get to your YouTube channel. Now they're saying it's not coming into effect until October, but I just don't understand the need to do this. I'm sure there's the argument of yes, it's a way to crack down on this and stop these creators from profiting off somebody else's work. And some of the changes they made, they've taken away the check mark, but now if say you're an artist, you have a picture validating your name and then a music note next to it to show that. I honestly think at some point it seems well-intentioned. But in doing that process, they've continued to show that they're making changes to their website that I don't necessarily understand. Now, you could say that maybe it's an attempt to change the algorithm and maybe make it more attuned to people, what they want. But you're seeing a lot of YouTubers get unverified. Even the YouTube channel itself, YouTube's very own channel, has been verified under these specifications that they've created. You're seeing a lot of them get verified. Now, granted, a lot of these guys I don't watch, or necessarily, some of them at least. But take, for instance, Jake Paul, who, despite how you may feel about Jake Paul or Logan Paul and who they are as people, he got unverified. He has one of the biggest channels on YouTube. He has almost 20 million subscribers, and he is unverified. And you're seeing more and more of these channels getting unverified that you wouldn't expect. You see so many big-time YouTubers, and I wouldn't be surprised if they said PewDiePie got unverified. So what is the purpose of doing this? Why do they continue to be a platform that continues to take away from their creators? And it just shows again that when you see a lot of these huge creators and these big channels get unverified, you're seeing more and more that they don't care about their creators or their users. They really don't. YouTube is supposed to be a platform that is an alternative to old media. It's an alternative to TV or what you normally would see on that. And it's supposed to be a way to give people that don't have a voice, good or bad. Trust me, there is a dark hole of garbage YouTube creators out there. There's also a ton of great YouTube creators out there. And I know how hard it is to want to be a YouTuber or create content for YouTube. It's very hard to do. And it seems like these creators that actually are successful on the platform continue to get punished for no reason. And it's a constant ebb and flow. And it's a give and take. And I mean, you've had 3 versions of an adpocalypse. And if you're not familiar with that, essentially what YouTube has done throughout the years, and I don't necessarily think I think it happened a little bit this past summer. There was Adpocalypse 3.0. But essentially what they would go in, and they'd go into these videos, they'd go to these creators and say, look, this isn't suitable for advertisers. You're going to get demonetized. You're not going to make any money from this. And they created algorithms to weed those out. But in doing that, they damaged a lot of creators and hurt them. I remember at one point, if you had a wrestling YouTube channel, and we did an episode on this on the wrestling podcast I used to do, you would get in trouble for hate speech for having wrestling or talking about professional wrestling of any kind. It was hate speech. And then if you're talking about any sort of politics on YouTube, good luck. Right or left, I tell you good luck, because you're not probably going to make any money on YouTube. It could literally be a video saying, hey, this is why Nazis are bad, or all an educational video even about World War II, or some sort of interesting video about World War II. Forget about it. You're not going to get monetized because it's in this algorithm, or this, sorry, I got a little loud there, in this little inner working of YouTube that says, no, thank you. We don't want to promote that or give you any money for the hard work that you're going to be doing. And that's, to me, the most frustrating part about this platform, where it used to promise so much to its creators and give them so many opportunities, and now it continues to cut them down. And I know I have bashed YouTube on this podcast a few times, and I know it seems like a recurring theme. And it's not because I haven't had success on YouTube. That's not my issue with YouTube. Me not having success on that platform is not anybody's fault but my own. And I'm not trying to blame that website in particular. I just think the people that have had success on YouTube, for some reason, are getting punished, that it just doesn't make sense. And I think it really boils down to, and I've said this a few times, and I'll say it more and more and time again, it's simply got to be because there's no other competition. They have nobody to compete with them. They have nobody to really tell them, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing this or treating our creators that way. Who cares? Because where else are these people going to go? There's no other competition. I don't understand the whole point of any of it, really. And I just don't get it. Why would a company that relies, not necessarily that anymore, here's the thing. YouTube doesn't care about you. It doesn't care about the content you make. It doesn't care about anything you do, because YouTube so desperately, for whatever reason, wants to be old media. It wants to be TV. It wants to be the next big TV network, and I don't understand why. I mean, there's even proof, going back to the political side of things, there's even proof that they will bury your independent political channel, like a David Pakman or a Secular Talk, or even Steven Crowder, who I don't really agree with, but they'll find a way to bury him in their algorithm and pull up Fox News or CNN or these big corporate news networks, because they don't care about you. They only care about money. Which brings me back to the thing, why would you unverify people that use your platform on a daily basis for income? And a lot of these YouTubers probably drive people to your site that probably wouldn't watch their site or care about your site. I spend more time watching YouTube videos than I probably do watching anything else. I mean, I probably am on YouTube more than Netflix or Hulu or any of that stuff, unless it's football season. Then I'm mostly watching ESPN and Fox and stuff like that. But I'm usually watching YouTube more than anything else. And I've been amazed in the last few years at how many different creators I've found and interested in, and how it's formed who I am as a person. And now you're trying to punish those people and take away their opportunities because you're unverifying them and hurting them in any possible way you want. And I said it way back in December of 2018 about having an alternative to YouTube. And I'm not going to go any further on that because I've already said what I have to say about that. I want to know why YouTube wants to punish people for making content on their website. I just don't understand it. My only answer to any of that would be YouTube just wants to stick with celebrities and corporate brands, and that's all they want. And that's fine, but people need to wake up and make some changes, because that's the only way it's going to happen. If you got people, and I know that there's this app called Storyfire. That's kind of like an alternative to YouTube. It's more of a storytelling app. I haven't really looked into it, but maybe it could be something really cool. I don't know. But yeah, it looks like to me, if you want to get your independent creators, it's got to be podcasting. I think podcasting is going to be the place for independent creators and even that has been corporate. You can't tell me there aren't corporate podcasts out there and corporate companies, which is fine, but I don't think it's to the level of YouTube, because there's more variety. There isn't just Apple Podcasts. There's Google Podcasts. There's Stitcher. There's Podbean. I mean, there's so many different podcasting platforms that you can listen to. So I don't think it'll be in the same situation. There isn't a YouTube for podcasts. I guess maybe the only comparable thing would be Apple Podcasts, and that's only because you have that podcasting app. If you have an iPhone or iPad, it's already there. But other than that, I don't really see anybody else taking that market and owning it. So I guess if you really want to support independent creators, it'd have to be podcasting. But a lot of these creators work really well on YouTube. They're designed to be successful on YouTube. So I don't know how they're going to be successful moving forward. And I think you're going to see more and more creators go to Patreon and, maybe Indiegogo. You're going to see them have more crowd-funded projects and crowd-funded endeavors going forward, which I think is the future. As a lot of independent creators, which again can hurt, because then how much free content can you really give out if I don't know. In other news, completely different than YouTube and me ranting about YouTube again. We are, if you don't know this, now you're probably not the biggest. Some of you out there are probably not the biggest wrestling fans. And if you aren't, that's fine. That's okay. But right now, I want to talk about something that I think is exciting. Because I think, and if you've listened to this show, if you've been a long-time listener, thank you, all three of you. Back in April, after WrestleMania, I covered WrestleMania with Sean Crawdaddy Crawford from my Get Slam days. And him and I talked about that. So you should know that I have a love for pro wrestling. I think now is the greatest time to be a pro wrestling fan because thanks to none other than AEW, All Elite Wrestling, adding some competition to the world of pro wrestling. I think that they have been without competition for a while, and I think that really pushing WWE and really what Triple H can do and his abilities, because I think when it boils down to it, if you're looking at creativity, I'm going to be looking at Cody Rhodes and Triple H, those kind of guys. I'm not looking at Vince because Vince is a full-blown madman. But wrestling Twitter has kind of gone crazy today. Again, Thursday, as I'm recording this, September 19th. Kind of gone crazy because the new NXT premiered on USA. It's their new 2-hour cable version of NXT. NXT had been running on the WWE, goodness, WWE network since the launch. So, yeah, a lot of people are excited about it because now we know in October, well, we've known this for a while, but on October 2nd, AEW is finally going to be coming onto TV on TNT with their weekly program, AEW Dynamite, which, again, they fully announced the name of it on the day after NXT goes live on USA. Interesting decision there. But there was an interview that took place with Kenny Omega, who's one of the big stars in AEW. If you don't know who Kenny Omega is, you will soon know. Most diehard wrestling fans know who Kenny Omega is because of what he did with New Japan Pro Wrestling and all across the indies, but he never truly came to the WWE. I think he was the kind of guy who didn't really want to work with Vince McMahon, and I can kind of see that. Based on what people have said in the past about the WWE and Vince McMahon, I can totally understand. So what Kenny said in an interview when asked about NXT and the whole Wednesday Night Wars, which we're kind of dubbing it, which honestly I'm okay with, because as a kid, when you had the Monday Night Wars, you didn't really realize what you had. If you were my age, again, I'm 26, 25, almost 26, pretty much 26. At my age in the 90s, when all this stuff was going down, I really didn't know what to make of it. And also, I was a WWE household. So I really didn't know anything about WCW and what was going on there. All I knew was Hulk Hogan was a bad guy. And that's what's so funny is you look at the generation before me, the Gen Xers, they mostly knew Hulk Hogan as a good guy. I mostly knew him as Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Regardless, the Monday Night Wars, I didn't really realize what was going on or what I had. So now I get my own version of that on Wednesday nights with the Wednesday Night Wars between NXT and AEW. So what Kenny Omega said that ruffled some feathers, he was during an interview, he was asked about it, and here's what he said, quote, "You can call it a war if you want. It's like, to me, we're in a completely different kind of business. I mean, what they're doing is different from what we're doing. It's weird because it's hard to say you're going to war with people that I can call my friends." And he's collaborated with Xavier Woods and other members of the New Day. He's done stuff with their YouTube channel, Up, Up, Down, Down, their gaming channel. So, yeah, he is friends with people in WWE. And believe it or not, that's possible for indie stars to be friends with other people in that company. And then he goes on to say, and yet we're going to war. And yet then I can sit back and look at the grand picture. I'm going to war with these dudes that if we're on the same show together, the same promotion, let's pretend there were no borders. Let's pretend there were no promotions. Let's just pretend there's just one big promotion, which for a while there was, WWE. If these guys were in the same show as me, they'd be in the dark match. They'd be in the opening match of my main event match. So essentially what he's saying, if it's kind of in the woods for non-wrestling fans, which, again, if you're listening to it and you're not really into this stuff, I'm impressed. I really am. So what he's essentially saying that they wouldn't even be on TV. A dark match is a match that usually they do before a live show to kind of get the crowd riled up and get people excited. He's saying they wouldn't even be on the main the main card, which really sent wrestling Twitter ablaze. But this is what's interesting. This isn't the first time that somebody shot across the bow. If you go back and you look in, I would say probably May, not long after AEW's big debut with Double or Nothing, which I thought was a fantastic pay-per-view event. And that's the thing. AEW's been knocking it out of the park. And they've been doing amazing things. Now, not everything has been a winner in all those cards because that's just how it goes. But I think they've been doing a very good job with presenting their identity and what their product wants to be. So this isn't the first time somebody's shot across the bow. I mean, Cody Rhodes, for Pete's sake, his entrance in Double or Nothing, he straight up takes a sledgehammer to a throne that looks like a Triple H King of Kings throne. So this isn't new, them going after each other. I like it. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people think, why are you trying to punch up and go after the WWE? Why not focus on what you're doing? But when they're the big dogs in the yard, why not get a little scrappy with them? Why not pull them down into the mud? And you can't tell me that WWE isn't scared. I definitely think WWE is threatened and sees AEW as competition. And the reason I say this isn't the first time, if you go back to May, after Double or Nothing, Seth Rollins goes on Twitter and says about a week later after their pay-per-view, Extreme Rules, he says best wrestling in the world, period. And then doubles down on it, has a whole Twitter fight with William Ospreay about it, and really doubles down on WWE. And, people were complaining about this. People were, didn't think that he shouldn't be punching down, where we said AEW shouldn't be punching up, WWE shouldn't be punching down. Those same people that were complaining about Seth Rollins are applauding Kenny Omega. So I don't understand the whole thing behind it. And personally, I think both are great, and I think both are fun, because to come out and just completely, almost immediately ignore your competition like that, I think that's silly. And I know WWE does that when TNA was actually good and legitimately making moves to, I want to say probably 06 to 08 probably was the best period for TNA. When that was happening, WWE didn't mention them. WWE to this day still doesn't mention TNA or Impact or whatever they want to call themselves. They don't mention them or have any part of that because they don't think they need to. They think they're better than them. Whereas AEW, I think they really feel like they're being threatened, and they really want to say, hey, we got to do things because these guys are actually making moves and making waves, and people are latching onto this. How do we do something like that? And you could argue that they had that USA deal with NXT going on Wednesdays probably in the bag for months, and they might have planned that, but as soon as AEW announces they're going to be going live Wednesday nights on TNT, not as soon, probably a little bit later, not that much later, NXT is like, oh, we're going 2 hours and we're going to be on USA Network. I think these two should have these little spats and these Twitter fights. I think it's good. I think it's entertaining. What is wrestling? Vince McMahon likes to call wrestling sports entertainment. You're in the world of entertainment. Why not have some fun with it? Why not go after each other? To completely ignore each other and act like neither exists, that's just silly. Now, I do think at some points, I think AEW goes a little bit too much on WWE, and where I think they could just focus on their own product. And I understand what Kenny is coming from a little bit, because what he's trying to say is they're on different planets. They're on different waveforms. And I truly think AEW is trying to sell a different product than the WWE. Now, again, I think this is being in direct competition with AEW. WWE has leaned into a more mature audience. They're kind of going back to that pre-Linda McMahon running for office PG era of WWE. They're trying to get more adult, and they're leaning more into that. But I still think they're going to be a totally different product than AEW, because from what I've heard from Tony Khan and Cody Rhodes, Dynamite is going to focus more on in-ring storytelling, and they're going to kind of relegate their behind the scenes storylines outside of the ring more towards other content like YouTube. I don't think that's going to be 100% the case because you're probably going to have people that watch AEW on TNT that might not watch Being the Elite or whatever they will do on YouTube. They're not going to probably go there. Now, you could probably do it on Twitter or, some sort of social media. You could probably get away with it there, but I don't know how much they're going to hold to that. But it looks like AEW is going to focus more on in-ring storytelling with their talent, whereas WWE traditionally has always been the bigger soap opera spectacle where they do a lot more of character development and talking than they do actual in-ring work, which is fine. I like that those two are going to have different approaches because if AEW wants to just do the same thing as WWE, why not just have those guys be in the WWE? I honestly think the difference is they want to be their own bosses. They want to have their own control over what their creators can do, and they really just don't want to work with Vince McMahon. Because a good portion of these guys have worked for Vince McMahon and they want to do something different and they want to innovate and change the world of pro wrestling. And I think that's awesome. That is a great thing. WWE can be, I think both companies are going to be better. And it's okay to have these little jabs at each other and these little things because it makes entertaining. I mean, look how much fun, and I'm reaching out to probably above my demographic, but all I have for frame of reference is WWE documentaries. And granted, they're going to kind of slant a direction because obviously the history is written by the victor. They won the Monday Night Wars. I mean, you can listen to 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff, which is a really good podcast. I'd recommend it. Or Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. Goodness gracious. Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard is also a really good podcast. You have those frames of references. That's what I have. But look at what they were doing. They were pushing each other to the limit. Competition only makes products better. In any business, any form of life, when you have competition, you're going to elevate your talent, you're going to elevate your abilities, and you're going to have to innovate and think of new ways to make your product fun and exciting. So Kenny Omega saying these things and reaching across the bow and saying we're on different planets, we're a different thing, we're the big time, they're the developmental leagues. I don't necessarily agree with that because I think NXT for the last few years has probably been the best thing that WWE has put out, minus Bray Wyatt and the Fiend gimmick. But this is not, there's nothing bad about this situation. I think people need to get over it. Kenny Omega is just playing with them and taking jabs at them, and it's a promotion. It's to get people to look at AEW. If you go out and say they're developmental, we're the big dogs, this is really where you want to watch real wrestling, that's going to drive people to watch it. You're going to act like you don't want to see it, but you do. There's nothing wrong with a guy like Kenny Omega coming out and having confidence. Because that cockiness and that confidence, you may think, oh, it's just a stupid Twitter fight. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't care about it. Yes, you do. Because now you want to see what AEW can do. You know what I mean? Think about it. So regardless, I'm excited to watch both products. I can't wait for AEW to come to TV. I'm very, very excited. It's going to be so much fun. And Wednesday Night Wars, baby. Bring them on. And lastly, for this week's episode, and I know you're thinking, Jake, you're just playing the same crap that you've played before. You're complaining about YouTube and saying YouTube has to be better. And you threw in a little curveball to talk about pro wrestling, but now you're talking about the same things again. We're talking about the streaming wars. Yes, I am talking about streaming platforms again, where back in November of last year, I talked about how we have too many streaming services, and that was just simply talking about the Disney Plus stuff. Well, as you can imagine, more things have developed, and we have even more streaming services. Now we have Apple TV Plus, now we have HBO Max, and then NBC Universal has their new version of a streaming platform. It's just called Peacock, which I appreciate the name, just because, hey, why not just use the name of our logo. So I'm going to come at this from a different angle. I am going to be a little annoyed by it because obviously, but I'm going to come at this from a completely different angle than you expect. So I'm going to come at it from just this perspective. Let's look at everything we have on the table. Okay? So we have the usual suspects that we have in there. We have Hulu, we have Netflix, we have Amazon Prime. So now we have added to this, we have HBO Max, which, by the way, we still have HBO Go or HBO Now, depending on if you have a cable provider for HBO Go or not. So there's HBO Max, Apple TV Plus, Disney Plus, Peacock, CBS All Access has been around for a while. That's someone that is more of a usual suspect. Criterion Channel and Quibi, I believe. This is the problem with the people say about this is the streaming wars. We're in it now. And, people are worried about this. So if you were to buy all of these things, say you really didn't, you had serious FOMO of all this stuff, and you wanted to be able to see every possible show or movie that you could have, it would be about $75-$80 with everything. And I mean, yes, you could probably make an exception to Hulu Plus and Disney Plus because you could bundle that with ESPN Plus for about $13 a month. So you do have some leeway there. But this is how I'm going to come at from a different angle. I'm not that worried about the streaming wars. There, I said it. I know you're surprised. You might be freaking out. I'm not that worried about it. I really not. Because I already have the core three that I watch things on. I already have HBO, I already have Netflix, and I have Hulu. And if you were paying attention to the beginning of this show, I mostly watch things on YouTube. I'm not someone that has to binge watch something or watch something right away and I need to see it. I'm not that guy anymore. I've given up on that perspective because my brain is broken by the streaming wars. And I'm coming at this from an angle that's different that I think you're going to see more people come to. About a few years ago, I started investing in collecting Blu-rays. Now, I know that's kind of silly because Blu-rays have been around for a while. But, I'm a slow learner, I guess. I'm a late adopter on technology. Point is this. People really didn't laugh at me, but some friends were questioning my choices because they're like, Jake, everything's streaming now and you can watch pretty much anything you want streaming. But even then I said, I don't trust it. I don't believe in that because, each website can only have so much bandwidth. And you can only have so much data and content on a Netflix or a Hulu or, whatever you may be streaming on. So even then I had that foresight. And it was also something like, hey, man, I understand that, but it looks nice on a shelf. If you collect Blu-rays or video games or any sort of media, and you put it on a bookshelf, even a book, the original intention of a bookshelf, even if you just putting it on the shelf makes it looks better. I like looking at my Blu-ray collection. It makes me happy. And you also have to keep in mind, I don't necessarily buy every movie when it comes out on Blu-ray. I'll wait and I'll go to used game stores that usually have a ton of used Blu-rays. Now, am I kind of tempting fate because I might get a Blu-ray that doesn't work or, this, that, or the other thing? Sure, I understand that. But if I go to, say, in Des Moines, it's JCD in the lobby shop. Say I go there and I get 4 or 5 Blu-rays for $5. Spending $20 for 4 or 5 movies, all movies that I really love and enjoy, want to watch over and over again, great. Now, Jake, you were like, you could get that and so much more if you took that money and invested in another streaming service. I could, but those movies aren't going to be there forever unless it's produced by the company, unless it's a Netflix original or a Hulu original. There's nothing sacred, and you're seeing it now because Netflix, granted, they got Seinfeld in 2021 out of the deal, but you saw it. NBC Universal plucked The Office and plucked Park and Rec and said, we're putting it on Peacock. You know what I can do in response to that? I can go buy the complete freaking season on DVD or Blu-ray and watch it that way. So I'm not worried about the streaming wars anymore, man. I've kind of given up on being upset about it or being worried about it because now I'm just going back to physical media. Now, there's obviously going to be pushback on that too because Blu-rays aren't going to be the end-all be-all media. Well, I personally think they aren't, but I think that we're getting in a direction where 4K Blu-rays or just Blu-rays in general might actually be the end of the physical media train where, I don't know. I think that might be the final advancement in the technology. Of course, I'm going to be wrong because there's going to be something else. But that is the reason why I'm not worried about streaming anymore, because there's going to be a bottom that falls out at some point. I mean, it is amazing at how much these media companies don't understand how history works and how history repeats itself. The reason why people cut the cord and went for streaming in the first freaking place was because they didn't want to pay 50, 60, 70 bucks a month for cable where they have hundreds of channels and a good 50 to 75% of them they don't use. That's kind of the whole point. So my response to the streaming wars is I'm going to go back to buying physical media. I'm going to keep buying Blu-rays, and I'm going to keep doing that. And I might need a bigger shelf. And I understand that takes space if you want to move this, that, and the other thing. I don't care. Because I'm such a cheap ass that doesn't affect me. I'm such a tightwad, it's not a problem. People focus too much and worry too much about how much space certain things take or this, that, and the other. And they're always chasing the trends. We're always chasing the streaming. What happens if your internet goes out? Say you move into a new place and you don't have internet for a weekend. What are you going to do? And you cut the cord, you don't have cable. What are you going to do? That's why you got to invest in physical media. I am that guy that is always, video games I haven't come back around yet, but I probably will because I'm seeing more and more some games just going completely off digital store shelves, which is silly to me. But with video games, I haven't turned that corner and come back around to being physical media, but movies I definitely have. Because of scenarios like that. Say there's a weekend, you could say I could go out, but again, you forget, I've been in a relationship for coming up on 6 years now. I don't go out. I stay at home. And I also don't want to spend money on going out. People don't understand this. I've been a grumpy 80-year-old man for my whole entire life. So I'm not going to go out and have a good time and party. I'm going to stay at home and watch RoboCop for the 20th time. I'm going to watch The Matrix for the 20th time. You see what I'm getting at? Don't be scared of the streaming wars. Fight back and buy physical media. Buy a Blu-ray. Buy a whole series on DVD and show them that you don't need them, folks, because we don't. I'm not worried about the streaming wars, and neither should you. This is a call to arms. If you love movies like I do, if you love entertainment like I do, then think about this and ask yourself, do you really want to be paying $80 a month for shows that you probably might not even like? Are you really going to spend $80 a month to watch The Office for the 10,000th time? Or Parks and Rec for the 10,000th time? I would recommend this. I would say take 2 or 3. Technically, I still kind of have Amazon too, but whatever. Figure out someone's login and just steal that. First of all, that's what you should do. Actually, don't do that. I'm not telling you to steal, you degenerates. But find 1 or 2 streaming services that you really want, whether it be Disney Plus or Peacock or whatever, or Netflix or Hulu or whoever. Pick 1 or 2 of those, stick with them, and then buy physical media. Because I can understand maybe wanting to watch, stick with Netflix or Hulu or things like that. I can understand that. Limit yourself to maybe 1 or 2. Take that $80, cut it down to probably, I don't know, 20 to 30. So you're saving an upwards of $50 to $60. And buy some freaking cheap Blu-rays. Support local businesses. Go to these used movies or video game stores, support local businesses, save yourself a ton of money, and still enjoy yourself. Hell, even go to a movie theater. Well, not those are expensive too. Damn. Buy physical media. That's my response to the streaming wars. That's my different angle to this. I'm not angry. I'm not upset. I'm not in any way pissed. I'm accepting the fact that I'm not going to just buy up every single streaming platform. It's silly. It's dumb. And the only way they're going to learn is if you vote with your wallet. Because not every single IP needs a streaming service. NBC Universal doesn't need a streaming service. The Criterion Channel doesn't need a streaming service. Hell, CBS doesn't even need a streaming service. Do I really need CBS All Access to watch 20 episodes of NCIS? Do they do Law and Order? I don't know. Law and Order of some kind? CSI, that's the one I'm thinking of, too. NCIS or CSI? No, you don't. Buy physical media. That's how we stop the streaming wars. Thank you so much for listening to episode 48 of The Jake Williams Show. Again, I'm going to have all these topics split up separately and put up on YouTube, even though I bashed them. So if you don't want to listen to this topic, you maybe want to listen to one of the other ones, I'll have it up there for you, and vice versa. Or if you want to listen to the whole show like you should, you can listen to it on any podcast service you want, obviously, because you're listening to it right now. Thank you so much. I love doing this show. I love doing all the shows on Loud and Opinionated, and it wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for you listening to it. And whether it be that you're angry about YouTube, or you're excited about AEW, or you're like me and you're sick into physical media, to stick it to the man, and by the man I mean the streaming services, all you have to do for all of those things is be loud and be proud.